Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Helen with One Structural, ADU1, Retrofit 1, and Balcony 1. So thank you for joining us today for our ADU1 webinar. Today we are just going over some general rules over accessory dwelling units for both single family and multifamily properties. So if you are a property owner thinking about whether it's investment purposes, adding some space to your home, creating some space for family to move into, or if you're a multifamily property owner and you want to add more units, it's a crazy time right now with increased rates and all of that too. So maybe it's not the best time to buy a brand new property, but you want to still invest, increase the value of your current property, and work with the asset you have. ADUs are definitely the right answer. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Our office is on Ventura Boulevard in Tarzana. And of course, today they are like demolishing the entire street and doing as much loud work as possible. But I will try to be louder. So hopefully it's okay for everybody. As always, if you need to reach us, this is our phone number. You can reach all of us for any of our departments, whether it's seismic retrofitting, ADUs, or balconies. And if you have any questions, thank you so much, Ali. If you have any questions or comments or feedback, feel free to put them wherever the chat is on your screen. I have a different view. So anywho, I will be going over some slides today and just going over, again, all rules for all cities. I know I typically do weekly webinars for different cities, but today we're just going to keep it general. So I'm going to share. And again, I really hope the construction is not too loud, but this might be what your ADU sounds like. Actually, it's not. Our ADUs are not this loud. So you don't have to worry about our ADUs causing this much noise. So, alrighty, hopefully you guys can see this. And let's see, and hopefully I uploaded the correct ADU slides today for some general information. So again, here's our contact number, our website, our general email, and I'm Helen with One Structural, which ADU1 is a division of. So okay, an ADU stands for accessory dwelling unit. In the past, some terms were, guest suite, in-law suite, guest house, carriage house. I know maybe a little bit different. Some people refer to it as a carriage house, something like that. But generally speaking, especially since the laws changed in 2020, adding just more allowances for ADUs, amending a lot of old ADU laws, the term ADU is actually getting quite popular, which is really nice. So it's pretty much all I hear, even on real estate listings. I think almost everybody is adding whether or not there's ADU potential. We do a lot of feasibility reports for realtors as well. So if you are looking for property, you may run into some of our feasibility reports letting you know how many and where ADUs could be added to it. And we do that for single family and multifamily. But it's just nice to finally see the term ADU being used much more commonly. So the ADU does have to have its own independent living facilities, as you see here. Kitchen, bathroom, common space, has to have its own exterior entrance away from either your house or your building. And again, 2020 is where the laws were kind of changed, amended, revised. ADUs used to only be permitted in single family homes. However, what happened in 2020 was they are now permitting them in multifamily buildings, which, yes, that's correct. Multifamily buildings, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes. If you have 8 units, 15 units, 70 units, it doesn't matter. You are now by right permitted to add more units to your building. That's our specialty, multifamily properties. We do still serve single family, but our specialty and focus, and especially in construction, has always been multifamily properties, whether they're single buildings, detached buildings, or very large HOA communities. That has always been our specialty across several trades. So now, luckily, apartment buildings are able to add more units, increase housing, across the state, and increase the value of their property and get more monthly revenue, which is great. ADUs have always been used for expanding your home, additions. This is more for single family relations, family staying with you, elderly family, which again, we do help with, but our focus really is helping you maximize your rental income. So that's kind of part of our feasibility reports. We provide these, pro forma statements, market analyses, stuff like that for which configuration within code and space permitting, which configuration can you do that's going to get you the best return? And of course, that's based on construction costs versus the configuration that you can build, all compared to what rental income will these sizes and styles bring you. So we work with you to kind of help find that sweet spot for finding just what is the best use of my money for rental income, value, and so forth. The types of ADUs that you can do, I will differentiate between single family and multifamily. The main types of ADUs that you're going to read about and hear about are attached and detached. They're pretty similar for, both multifamily and single family, but there are a couple of differences. So under the attached rule, attached for a single family home is just like the picture that you're seeing here. That's a single family home that was once the garage that was converted. So that would be an internal conversion, basically, because you're converting space that already existed within the home or property or building, converting it as it is with its footprint and all into an ADU. So that's attached. And this type of attached is an internal conversion attached. So for single family homes, you can do like this, the attached internal conversion, or you can do new construction that you then attach to, not you then, I mean, as you're building it, it is attached to the structure of the home. So that's one, I guess, piece of attached that single family can do that multifamily cannot. So we get that question a lot. Can I just add to my building? Unfortunately, not in that manner. Only single family homes can do new construction, which is attached to the structure. Under detached, you can either do internal conversions of a detached legally permitted structure, like a detached garage, you can convert them, or you can do new construction that's detached away from the home. There are building separations that every city does require, meaning how far for new construction you have to build away from the house or your building. The typical range are 6 to 10 feet. Most cities say 6 feet, some say 10 feet that you have to build away. And of course, for new construction, there are always setbacks as well. The most common setback, I think, across the board for California is 4 feet. So 4 feet from your property lines and side. If you are converting an existing space that's already legal and permitted, you do not have to worry about adhering to those setbacks if it's non-conforming. You can keep it as is. So again, you can do attached, detached. The difference though, multifamily cannot do new construction attached to the building. Multifamily has to be an internal conversion or entirely detached. And as far as detached goes, if your city allows it, you may be able to also build on top of an existing detached structure. Obviously, a lot of retrofitting would have to be put with reinforcement to that existing building if you're putting a second story, but we take care of that. But if your city does allow it in terms of just second stories or height allowances, then you can do that and preserve parking at the same time. Here's just an example of a detached ADU. So our biggest question, how many ADUs can I add? This is also probably just the biggest difference between single family rules and multifamily. Single families, I'll start there because it's shorter. As far as ADU goes, you could do one ADU, whether it's attached or detached. If you want a second ADU, there is a method or a configuration, I suppose, called junior ADU. Junior ADU has its own set of rules and sometimes, if not most of the time, does affect the configuration and size of your ADU. So the junior ADU requirements, similar to what I was describing about those internal conversions, the junior ADU must be an internal conversion. It can't be new construction, it can't be detached. So the junior ADU has to be within the existing footprint of the house. The owner, there's owner occupancy requirements. The owner of the home either has to live in the house or in the junior ADU. And then sizing, you're limited to a maximum of 500 square feet for your junior ADU. Those are the biggest rules. I guess maybe the fourth one is you cannot because of the owner occupancy, it doesn't allow you to rent them separately, like renting your house and the junior ADU, because the owner has to live in either one. Most of the time, from what I've read and experienced, if you are doing a junior ADU, most cities in California then require your ADU to be detached from the home, basically preventing the entire house from being 3 units, I guess. So most cities, again, if you're doing your junior ADU, internal conversion, max 500 square feet, your ADU must be detached. What I've also been seeing in a lot of cities, if you do the junior ADU, your ADU is now limited to 800 square feet. I would say that's over 25% of cities. I've seen that rule. A lot of them still allow the ADU to be, which I'll get into sizing, allow to kind of maximize with the state's allowances. However, some cities have that rule for limiting your size and location of your ADU. For multifamily, another big difference, you can do at least 1 unit under that attached, aka internal conversion. The 1 unit applies for duplexes up to 7 units. The 25% rule, which you will see a lot of, the 25% rule really only takes effect after 8 units because it is rounded down. So if you have an 8-unit building, let's say with tuck under parking or a very large storage area, or it doesn't even have to be large, minimum 300 square feet to use the 2. If you have a multifamily building with 8 units, you can do 25%, which would be 2 ADUs under that internal conversion allowance. So let's say you have a very large storage room, or I don't know why I keep saying very large, but if you have a storage room, if you want to do 2, then you can split it, of course, space permitting, into 2 units. Even if you have 9, 10, 11, it's still rounded down. You can do 2 under that internal conversion. If you have 12 units, the 25% rule will then allow you to do 3. So if you have storage and a rec room and maybe some, parking that you're either able to relocate or you don't mind removing, you can do up to 3 internal conversions. You are also, so I think that would be the next slide. So the little chart at the bottom gives you an idea for multifamily properties, 16 units, you can do 4. And again, this is under the 25% rule, which only has to do with attached. Here we go. So the next slide is under detached. So multifamily also allows up to 2 detached units. In most cities, this means either converted detached structures or new construction. There are a couple of cities right now, Culver City specifically, that even if you have a detached garage, or if you intend to convert it, they actually count that under the 25% conversion rule. I guess that's their interpretation. I really have never interpreted it that way, but they are, so it's up to them. And the state, I wouldn't say vague, but they kind of gave the rules within their handbook and said, okay, here's cities, you have to allow them within these parameters. You don't have to allow it all. You can kind of pick and choose. So as long as the city is allowing it, I don't think there's that much of a fight you can do, because as long as they're giving you at least 1 ADU, then they're doing their part. So this is how some cities have interpreted that. However, most cities, detached means detached, and you can do up to two detached units, which again can either be conversions or new construction or on top, whatever it is. However, as ever since 2020, there are most cities now have their own ordinances and rules. So what I've been noticing, something between now the state and all these cities, as part of that, as mentioned, they said here are the rules. You can pick and choose what you allow. One of them is between these configurations, the attached and detached. The cities are not required to permit both. So what I've been noticing more and more of month after month, as local ordinances are being released, a lot of cities are basically enforcing only one configuration allowed. So if you have multifamily and you have some internal conversion possibilities and you have land that you can build on, some cities, as you see on the right column, do not allow both. Santa Clarita, Torrance, Long Beach, La Habra, Costa Mesa, Pasadena, Glendale, there's more. I've heard recently, we were working with West Hollywood, although it's not in their ordinance, some of the planners are saying, no, you can only do 1. So it's tough, but we navigate all of that for you, so you don't have to. But that's just giving you some idea of who's allowing you to do both. Again, single family homes, still that one ADU, and then the junior ADU with all of those, I guess, restrictions. Also on the right-hand side for height allowance and if you can do second story or not. Glendale and West Hollywood only allow single story ADUs for both single family and West multifamily. I think. I'll confirm again if that also goes for single family, because sometimes single family can do more. However, at least for the multifamily side, Glendale and West Hollywood only allow single story, and Pasadena as well. This is for multifamily that I know for sure of. I'll double check for single family just so I don't give any misinformation. Let's see. Oh, very nice. I see. I just grabbed one of our webinars that I created. In case you do still have to retrofit, I'm not going to get into super detail with this, but if you do have to seismically retrofit your building, as you see here for a project we did a while ago in Westwood, you can combine your seismic retrofit requirements with your ADU. If you want to know what seismic retrofitting is or you need to do that, please just contact us and I'll go into that in detail, but I'm not going to right now through the slides. It's for earthquake safety to reinforce your building. So you can do it as these diagrams suggest. You can combine your seismic retrofit requirements, always meeting code, with the addition of these units. And so that would always be incorporated in the engineering plans that we design. So here's some samples. This is a multifamily building that needs to retrofit and wanted to do the ADUs. I think this is in Inglewood, and right now in Inglewood it is voluntary to do it. But these owners were very proactive and smart, I would say, because you don't want an ADU, a tuck under area, and then later in 2 years, your city then does require you to do that, and you didn't have shear walls or that reinforcement in your ADU, you will have to go do the construction because it is technically still soft story if there are no seismic retrofit elements in the design and structure of that ADU. It's technically still an open space underneath dwelling that wasn't reinforced. So we always recommend that if your city has not required it or mandated it yet, we will still give you that option to incorporate retrofit elements too. So this is, I believe, the same building. This option was showing if they put the unit here, they would still have to, I don't know if you can see my cursor, still put some steel columns in the middle of the building because it was a 3-story building. This option is showing if you put the ADU in the middle, we could just do shear walls and incorporate it that way without additional construction, outside of the ADU. I believe they actually ended up going, it should be here, sorry, with the ADU on the right side actually, but using more spaces. I think that's what they went for. I have to jog my memory. They went with using more parking spaces so that way the ADU gets some private patio space on the side, doesn't have to worry about cars entering, and then they were still able to use the shear walls too. So it's a really good choice. This ADU is just, this one was proposed above an existing carport, 360 square feet. We get these questions a lot. If I'm only working with 300 square feet, how on earth can that be a unit? As you see here, because of the layout, we're able to make it into even a separate full 1-bedroom too. Of course, it's going to be smaller, but these are ones that can rent maybe a little less. Obviously, it's not going to be the same rental amount as a 900 square foot unit, but it's, at least you're using this space. It's not going to be as expensive as a 1,000 square foot unit either to build. So I guess the cost to revenue ratio is going to be really good. And at the end of the day, people need housing that's going to be priced for what they can afford. If they can't afford a 1,000 square foot unit, but they want a nice, it's going to be brand new, beautiful. It's housing, shelter over their head, new, designed very nicely, so it can make somebody very happy and be within their budget. So these units are needed for a lot of people or families. Here is just showing some more design. This is somebody who's doing the up to 2 detached in their rear. There was, I think, an old dilapidated garage that was there that we're proposing to demo, and we are going to build basically a duplex in the rear of this multifamily property. This property specifically was in the historic preservation overlay zone, so we had to get the HPOZ involved, get their approval. It has to go through their clearance. So there are a lot of steps involved with this, but again, we handle it all, and we are familiar with all of the design guides for the HPOZ and historic sites. This one is showing multifamily again, because that's our specialty, but we do have some single family in the pipeline. This is an existing carport in the rear of a multifamily property. We will be building 2 units on top. So we're going to be adding a stairway. We reconfigured the parking. So that way, if you see here on the left, parking will just be pushed down, because parking can be in the setbacks and property lines. That's fine. But the building cannot. All new construction must adhere to setbacks. So it is designed with the 4-foot setbacks all across. And actually, there's more that I can get to it. We had to get DWP clearance for this, encroachment clearances. They did have their own requirements, which we revised and got approved. It was quite a process, but we did it, so we can do it again. Stairway, 2 units, very good size. It's going to be on the 2nd floor. This is a building, a soft story building with, you know, like 1 cubby space in the front and several in the back. It's being retrofitted both front and back while adding the ADUs at the same time. This project is in Lake Balboa. We did full renovation on the main house and back. We are actually, this project we are doing SB9 with. If you are not familiar with SB9, please check out our other videos about SB9. Because that is something that if you have a lot of land, for example, and you want to do more, especially this is for single family homes only, R1 areas, R1 single family, if you have a gigantic land and 1 ADU isn't going to cut it for you, you want to do more, SB9 you might qualify for SB9. So we have other videos about that. Please check them out. And we are actually doing that to this property right now. So I think we are adding 2 to 3 more units in the back of this single family home. This is a project we have going on right now in Inglewood on Flower, multifamily with tuck under garages. We're converting all of that to units. Check out our Instagram page. We have lots of videos about the progress for this project too. This I think was like, you know, very early on. We're already like in kitchen cabinet installation and stuff like that at this project. And then here are just some diagrams of building above, or some renderings, of building above an existing carport. Here's a sample of a 2-story structure. This is good when you have an open parking lot, for example, that you want to still preserve parking. We can build still your 2 units on top, or 1, whatever you prefer. Parking rules, it says in the state law, if you're converting a garage or carport for the purpose of an ADU, you don't have to replace those spots. And if your house or building is within a half mile of public transit, like a bus stop, you do not need to add any parking. So in most cases, I would say 99%, you do not have to add or replace parking. For rent-controlled units, if you are going to be using their storage or their parking that's within their lease, give them a 60-day notice that there's this change to their lease, and then you must reduce their monthly rent. The city gives a range, actually it's changed since they're like 60 to 260, something like that, I think, but it really ultimately is up to what the owner or landlord or management company agrees with each individual tenant. Certain things that are considered: how many spots are you taking away from them? How difficult will it be to find replacement parking on the street or at a monthly parking? How much will it cost? What's their current monthly rent? All of this kind of stuff. But again, their amenities are not protected, but their rental amount is. So if they're rent controlled, you have to reduce their rent, but you are permitted under law to use their storage and parking spots for ADUs. Taxes and Prop 13, the ADUs do not trigger a full reassessment. You get a blended assessment based on the value of your ADU. Prop 13 also still stands because you keep that original amount. And you know what? I think I'll just briefly go over this. I didn't intend to, but if you have a multifamily building, whether it's HOA condos or 3 units or more apartment building, you do, under the law, have to get your decks, balconies, walkways, catwalks, all exterior elevated elements inspected under Senate Bill 721 for apartment buildings, or under Senate Bill 326, which is for HOAs and condos. So I'm not going to go into super detail right now, but if you are interested in learning more, if you're interested in learning more about the balconies, we have a bunch of videos for there. We have a Balcony One YouTube channel as well. So watch all of our balcony videos, or just give us a call. You'll still reach our balcony department here as well. And if you do an ADU with us, we help you out. We have some incentives for your balcony stuff that you would have to do anyways if you have those elevated exterior elements. So that is all for today. Thank you for joining us with our ADU general rules for single family and multifamily. I'm Helen with One Structural, and I will see you next time. Thanks, everybody.